I've posted this before, but it fits here as well. I always parked in a certain spot at my last job for 12 years that I was there. It was accessible to the public as it wasn't company parking, but they wanted us to park in the back of the lot so the closer spots could be available for customers. One day, my spot's taken by a dark-tinted caddy, and I'm immediately pissed because everyone knows it's mine. It's morning shift, so 4 a.m., so it can't be one of the others because I know what they drive. So, newbie, or maybe another employee from another shop in the plaza? It's still there on my lunch break, and when I go home, and the next day I come in at 1 p.m. till close, around 9:30, and then also the next. Something about it really bothered me. It smelled wrong. Literally. It's the South and high summer, and who knows what's baking in there. My dad was a Marine, then a police officer. He always said if you feel something is wrong, there probably is. So I dialed the non-emergency contact police number. I felt like an idiot, but every time I walked by, it bugged me. So I was stuck waiting for over an hour before anyone shows. And honestly, if I hadn't been off the next day, it would have been like, F it. But I waited, mostly because I can be really a petty SOB. And that's my spot, damn it. The police show, all annoyed because who knows how many "they can't park here" calls they get. They run the license plate though, and then things go crazy. They want my info, want me to contact my manager, does this lot have cameras, have I touched the car, etc. Apparently, the car is on Amber Alert as the last sighting of a missing person who was a minor, a 15-year-old girl. When they pop the trunk, they find her dead, mutilated body under a blanket and the source of the smell. She had gone out with her much older, controlling, and insecure boyfriend, but had decided to get out of the relationship. She only made the mistake of getting into the car with him. He drove 3 counties over after torturing her, stuffing her in there and who knows what else, then parked and walked away, left her to die in the trunk. I never learned her time of death, so it haunts me sometimes, thinking she might have been saved if I'd made a fuss earlier. So yeah, listen to your gut, even if it seems petty. I was about 20 years old and still lived with my parents and younger siblings. I was watching TV, and my sister, 16, came in and ripped the remote from me and turned it to something else. She has 5 inches on me and a god complex, so rather than try to fight for it back and get my ass beat in the process, and then getting in trouble for being mean to my baby sister when my parents got home, since she's always been the favorite and has never faced any punishment for anything until she started getting arrested later on, let her change a channel and we watched what she wanted to watch. About 10 minutes before that show ended, she got up and walked out of the room and shut herself in her bedroom. The show ended, a new episode started, then that ended. She never came back. So after 45 minutes of watching this bullshit show and playing on my phone, or else I would have changed it sooner, I changed the channel back to what I was watching. 15 or 20 minutes later, my sister came back and told me to change it back. I said no, and her show had ended anyway. She told me again to change it back, but in this guttural scream. Her eyes were dark, and she looked like she was trying to will me to burst into flames. I said no again, and that she had left for an hour, and her show was over. She stormed away, furniture and picture frames shaking from her literally stomping like a child. She went into the kitchen and got a steak knife, and as she entered the living room, she said she was going to make me pay. She chased me in circles around the coffee table until I made a mad dash for my bedroom and locked the door as I slammed it and threw myself in front of it. We lived in a really rural area, so I didn't have enough service to call 911, and I couldn't grab a landline before shutting myself away. My sister shook the doorknob and ordered me to open the door so she could kill me. I stayed in front of the door. She could have easily unlocked the door since the locks were those child-safe locking doorknobs that you only needed a coin or something small to unlock from the outside, so my own body was my last line of defense. But I guess she was too angry and eventually walked away. Obviously, I didn't leave my room until my parents got back. I told them, but they brushed me off. I turned that interaction over and over in my head for weeks. How could I have done things differently? There was no de-escalating with her. if she was going to rage, she was going to rage. That much hasn't changed since she's become an adult. But anyway, a few weeks or months, I can't quite remember, later, the same thing happened again. She took the remote, changed the channel, left the room before her show ended, didn't come back until well after I changed the channel back, and tried again to chase me with the same steak knife. But this time, instead of a dash to my room, I took off to the kitchen and grabbed the biggest cleaver out of the knife block, the one that was always super sharp because nobody used but my dad would still sharpen periodically. She tore after me, but stopped when I turned around with a blade 3 times the size of hers. With the same fire in her eyes, she demanded I put it down. I said no. She repeated herself and I shouted, "Come make me, bitch," while brandishing the cleaver. After staring into each other's eyes for a minute, she turned around and walked out of the kitchen and back to her room. She was strangely cool and calm. I don't remember if she put the knife on the table as she walked past or not, but I kept the cleaver on me as I kept watching TV. I don't remember if my parents commented on the cleaver when they came back or if I put it away when I heard them come into the driveway, but she never attacked me with a knife again. Key words being with a knife. It wasn't just because of this incident, but how my sister is in general, but I was diagnosed with CPTSD from my dealings with her. Some of my family is still trying to tell me that we need to stop acting like children and I need to put in the effort to have a good relationship with her. But they've never been threatened and attacked with a steak knife over changing the channel of the TV. Fuck that with a rake. Luckily for me, and not so luckily for them, some of my family have seen her true colors and are on my side. I have cerebral palsy, but I have always worked while at and after leaving college, sometimes having 2 or 3 jobs at a time. When this incident happened, I was 22, renting my bungalow and living alone. I was going to work. My main job at the time was as a dance, fitness, and play therapy assistant to a group of therapists working for young people with physical, learning disabilities, and extreme behavior disorders. As I'm a full-time wheelchair user, I had to use a cab to travel to and from work. And although most of the guys driving for the cab firm were solid and really nice, there were a few dodgy ones, as in most walks of life. I could transfer quite easily, so all the drivers had to do was hold my wheelchair steady, then fold it up, and then put it in the boot. On this day, the guy turned up at 8:30 a.m., late. I proceeded to transfer. I felt him right up close behind me. His hand brushed lightly over my back and bottom. It's worth mentioning that I had slight issues with this man before, mostly making smutty remarks and asking me out for a drink. I said no. He got slightly nasty, and I ended up having to report it to the firm. As I'm disabled, there wasn't much I could do as I was holding myself up and they couldn't let go of the door. I swore at him, managing to swing around to sit in the car and told him never to do that. He just laughed and smirked. We started to drive. 10 minutes in, I noticed we weren't going the regular route to get to the center where I worked. Being angry, and also the fact that I was already late for work, I asked him about this. He ignored my questions and said in a cold voice, "You know I live around here. I could take you to my flat where my 3 mates are, and there wouldn't be anything you could do about it." When he said this, I was crapping myself inside, but I said in my bravest voice, "If I'm much later, work will call me and they have your firm's details too." With that, he scowled at me big time, and after a while, I soon recognized the usual route to work. When I arrived at work, my boss was worried. He saw the driver, who he didn't have time for either, asked me if I was okay. After a while, I was able to tell my supervisor what had happened, and she first called the cab firm and then the police, who came to interview me at work and then talk to the man. I don't know what happened to him, but I never saw him again.